Now we will talk about some of the application of starches, particularly in the food industry, like where we use different starches for what applications. So normally, as earlier said as well, these effect of modified starches through biotechnology or other means as well, they are visible in the form of processing, uh, different processing qualities, or the food that are having these kind of starches, they might have a modified shelf life. The consistency might be different. The appearance of these products might be different. They might have different textures. The thickening properties might be changed. Similarly, the suspension of these particles into the different kind of food products, it might be different. So we have to actually look at the different kind of starches that has been produced by these biotechnologists or through chemical modifications, and then we have to. And this development has been done by food technologists, where they develop different kind of food products in which they would have desirable um, applications of these starches in different forms. For example, as I said, they might have some good processing parameters. They might have different structure, or the mouthfeel might be different. It might have impact on the shelf life of food or consistency of food. So these different applications are found through different experimentation done by different food scientists in their industry as well. So generally, if you look at the chemical changes that do take place in these starches, they can be some of them are oxidation or monostarch phosphorylation, distarch phosphorylation, acetylation, or hydroxypropylation or octenyl succination. So these are basically different chemical modification that are introduced into these different starches, and all these different starches, when they are modified chemically or through biotechnology applications, they would come up with these different structures, and these different structures would have different applications uh, in the food industry, because they would these different chemistries would have different functions in the end product. So if we talk, as we talked about this amylose free starch, so that is produced in many crops, especially the waxy varieties of maize. It would have many of the application. It is there in the sorry the waxy variety of rice is the one that has got amylose free starch, and we know that it's not only the properties that we see. It's not directly linked with the less amount of amylose. Rather, it's the higher amount of amylopectin that is present in those starch. It might be more responsible for the variable nature of these starches that we actually observe in the industrial application of these kind of starches. So we they have been used for different applications. These kind of amylose-free starches, they can be used for as water binder. They build the viscosity of the food products. They can be used as texturizer for different food applications in different industries. Uh, but on the other hand, the drawback of this kind of amylose-free starches, that might have very small amount of amylose, maybe up to 3%, or sometime complete absence of amylose can be possible. These would have some of the drawbacks as well. For example, they would not be very much resistant to shear or high acidic condition or high temperature. So if we give these kind of aggressive treatment to these kind of starches, that would be bringing about undesirable changes, maybe these stringy or cohesive paste that may be developed, which are the undesirable properties that we do not want in certain food products to have these kind of properties. So once we develop some products, for example, amylose, low amylose content in certain starches, there might be some limitations as well. So we have to use then uh, the new attributes for the better applications, and we have to also look at the weakness of these kind of products that are produced through biotechnology. So if we talk about these amylose free starches, the good thing about them is they would have higher transparency. Another thing is they are good for freeze and thaw cycle as well. They can, the food that you produce by these kind of starches, that they can be frozen, they can be thawed, and they can be refrozen. That would not bring much more undesirable changes in this. So this is the good side of these kind of modified starches, and this application or this attribute or parameter can be utilized for different kind of food products as well. So if we again the storage stability, it might be different. They might these especially the low amylose starches would have longer time to gel, so they can have longer shelf lives as well. So this is again one of the property. This is utilized for that kind of product in which you would want to increase the shelf life of the product, and you can use these kind of starches to increase shelf life of these products. So similarly, in certain cases, as I said, because we develop a crop with modified chemistry, that modified chemistry might have some good points, it might have some negative points. So if there are some weaknesses, they can be actually modified through chemical means as well. As I initially said, there are different chemical changes that can be brought about into these starches, and then these starches can be utilized. So there has been a lot of development, not only on biotechnology side, but on the chemistry side as well, that people have chemically modified many of these starches for their industrial applications. So if there are any weaknesses in the biotechnology based products, they can be improved by the chemical modifications as well. So for example, in case of wheat, people have developed certain mutants. They are not genetically modified mutants basically. But in case of potatoes, people have developed GM or genetically modified crops as well, with all those desirable changes in the starches as well. So, for example, the amylose-free wheat has been produced. They are mostly suitable for making products such as noodles or baked goods, especially breads. So they would have higher desirable properties, more shelf life, better visual appearance as well. So these applications are very much common for these kind of variants that are produced through biotechnology. Some other properties of these starches is the producing of resistant starches. The resistant starches would actually not be, they would not high glycemic index, they would not be producing glucose in a very short time in higher amount, unlike the other starches. So they would be more suitable for diabetic patient or other people who are more weight conscious, and or pre-diabetic people can use these kind of starches, resistant starches as well. And they have been in different form, whether in unprocessed form such as green bananas or legumes or potatoes, people have developed this kind of resistant starch varieties as well. Or it can also be there in the form of processed starched form as well, that has got high amylose contents. So high amylose starches, as I said, they might be utilized for this property, that they would have higher more resistant starch that is produced. And the example that we earlier discussed, this is the amylose extender mutation that produces up to 40 to 50% amylose. That higher amylose content would be leading to more resistant starches, and that resistant starches would have a lot of application, not only in food, they also have application in pharmaceuticals as well, where these are utilized as carrier for some of the medicines as well. So some of these studies are also reported that people have produced up to 90% of amylose content in certain crops as well. So this has been also achieved. And the examples are, they are found in especially barley and rice. So this was a summary about some application of starches, particularly in the food industry.